Hello, good evening, very welcome everybody to your Diploma in Graphic Design Part 1 here at Shaw Academy. A big welcome to everybody out there and thanks very much for joining us this evening. Very excited. Are we excited about learning graphic design, everybody? Hope we are. Just doing a quick sound check before we begin as well, guys. I already did there just a few minutes ago, but in your question box there, if you give me a quick yes, hello, or whatever you like into your questions boxes to make sure that everybody out there can hear me okay. Hi Kylie as well. Louise, I can see you. Marina, Beverly, Christine, Philip as well, Paul out there, Claire, Haley, George as well. I can see you. Lots and lots of people coming through loud and clear. Does not seem to be any issues there, which is great. This is absolutely brilliant. Well, guys, like I said, you're very welcome. My name is Kevin. I'm very excited to be your educator for the next few weeks or so. Bring you on your graphic design learning journey. Just to get you guys a little bit more familiar with myself, this is myself. You can see on your screens in front of you. I've also included a few little points about myself to get you to know me a little bit better. These are all, of course, 100% true, 100% accurate. Some people might call it a little bit OCD, but as you guys will soon discover over the duration of this course, this is what we call being a graphic designer. Now, guys, we've got a lot of new students here with us this evening. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to quickly go through just the basic procedures of how it all works, okay? Christine I can see you, Kirsten, out there. Christine, yes, okay, I can see you all out there, guys. Yeah, everyone's coming through there loud and clear. Okay, guys, so just for all of our new students out there this evening, and there's lots and lots of you joining us there, so just quickly how it all works, okay? Just like you've done there, you've answered to me in your question boxes. This is how you converse with me, just like you're doing right there. So the questions are posted in there. For anybody wondering, your student microphones are muted, everybody, in case anybody's wondering about that. As you can imagine, if everybody's mic was open, we would never get through the lesson. You would not be able to hear anything at all. So hence that is the reason for that, okay? And as I said, guys, you will be able to ask myself questions. I will try to get to some questions during the webinar, but as I said, there's lots of you here, so we try to keep the Q&As, the question and answer session, until the end of the lesson, okay? So we're trying to keep the Q&A to the end of the lesson. I will try to get to some during the lesson, but just to aid in the flow of it, we do try to keep them to the end of the lesson, okay? So give me a quick yes into your question boxes if that is clear to everybody so far. Give me a quick yes, lots and lots of yeses. Okay, that is all clear. Okay, brilliant, guys. So moving on. As I said, you're very welcome to lesson 1. This is your introduction lesson. What we're going to be looking at today, we're going to have a quick overview of about ourselves here at Shaw Academy. We're going to go through the course agenda then. Course engagement, we're going to have our introduction to graphic design then. Talk about what it is, what it isn't, maybe some of the different areas of graphic design. So, and what I mean by this is I know that people out there might be complete beginners, which is great, that's where you're here, but even for people out there that might have a little bit more experience in certain areas, we'll go through that. So no matter what you're here for, if you're here just as an avid, maybe amateur, just looking to hone up your skills, or if you're maybe a little bit more professional, there is something on this foundation course for everybody, okay? So there is something here for absolutely everybody. So quickly about us. We are, of course, Shaw Academy. We've been around since around 2012 or so there. We are the largest live online educators on the planet, guys. Now, the big term there is live, okay? And this is something we're very proud of because this aids in all of your learning. Attending live is by far the best way to enhance your learning experience with us here at Shaw Academy as well, guys, okay? So I would encourage you to attend as many live lessons as possible for the simple reason that you get to engage with myself, ask me any questions that you might be maybe wondering about, or basically I'll be able to help you with anything that you might just be wondering about, okay? So how it all works, okay? In this course we have 10 lessons, okay? So we've got 2 live lessons per week over the next 4 weeks, but we've got 8 lessons. We also have 2 lessons on demand. What on demand basically means, these are pre-recorded lessons and these will be available to you this Friday and the following Friday. So these lessons you can log into your student area, and I'll bring you through that at the end of the class also. You can log into your student area this Friday and next Friday, and they're basically bonus lessons for you guys out there too as well, okay? As I said then, we have our Q&A session, our question and answer session after each live presentations, where you'll get the chance to ask me anything that you might be wondering about pertaining to that specific lesson. If for any reason you cannot make a live lesson, and I know we're all busy, but if for any reason you cannot make a live lesson, our lessons are then uploaded to our website, usually about 24 hours after the actual live lesson. So you will again be able to access any lessons that you might have missed in your student login area. I'm sure lots of you are already familiar with that right now, but just for anybody wondering, I will bring you through this at the end of the lesson also, just to make sure that everybody understands. Okay, so that is basically how it works. Just a quick one for you too. A very, very exciting opportunity here. We love a good competition over here at Shaw Academy, so we are running one this month, okay? So what this entails is, for everybody out there that attends basically 4 live lessons before lesson 8, that is simply attend 4 live lessons before lesson 8, you will be automatically entered into a draw, which will give you a lifetime membership to Shaw Academy. What this means is basically you get access to absolutely every course here at Shaw Academy, both our foundation and moving on then to our advanced courses also. It will give you access to all of these for life, plus of course any courses that we are adding in the future. So it's an absolutely amazing prize, and all you have to do is attend 4 live lessons before lesson 8, and I will be talking to the lucky winner then live during lesson 8 as well, guys. So does that sound exciting to people? Give you a yes into your question boxes if that sounds exciting. Lots of people excited about that. Brilliant. Okay, guys. Okay, just a few little bits of housekeeping now before we move on as well. There are toolkits available. You will see them in your student area as well. These are optional for yourselves, guys. The toolkits basically contain the webinar slides, all of the slides that you see during the presentations. I've also included in them then some summary notes for each of the lessons also, and there will also be a bonus video released then later on in the course, in your course toolkits also. Basically, guys, the reason behind this is to basically, so you don't have to start scribbling down notes and taking notes during the presentations, which you can of course if you like as well, but basically these gives you all of my resources that I'm teaching for you also. So in your student login area you can purchase these in there too. They're just like a little aid, okay? They will help your learning experience as we progress through this course also, so they'll just help you out and save you from, you know, scribbling down notes and things like that as well, guys. Okay, so they are available for you in your student login area. And finally then, guys, we do have our final assignment and our diploma. This will be made available for you at the end of lesson 10, which, so you obviously need to get through all of your lessons first before you can go on to your diploma, and this will be released for you after the final lesson, after lesson 10. Again, in your student login area you will have access to this also, okay? Okay, guys, and for anything else then outstanding, I would encourage you to visit the FAQ, the frequently asked questions, on the website. So go to shawacademy.com, look up our FAQ, our frequently asked questions, and you should get answers then to anything else outstanding. Okay, so again, everybody clear on that so far? Oh, by the way, Paul Graham is just making a note there. I forgot to mention that. Paul, thank you very much. He said, I read the starter pack was free if you attend the live lesson. This is the case, Paul. I have also included a bonus graphic design starter pack. So again, if you log into your student area and under your toolkits, if you log in for your graphic design starter pack, you will be able to download that directly from there right now. Actually, guys, it is available for you in there right now as well. And again, I'll show you, for anybody wondering, I'll show you at the end of the lesson too, just in case anybody's wondering. And again, I do encourage you to download that. There's things like keyboard shortcuts for all the software we'll be using, and just some added extra material that I've put together for you guys as well. Okay? Okay, is everybody excited about that? Kirsten is asking, where do you log in? If you simply go to the shawacademy.com website, Kirsten, and you will see your student login area there. Brett Curry says he's very, very excited. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff, guys. Okay, well, that's it, guys. We're going to get started now. We have all the housekeeping out of the way. So, welcome to graphic design. Here, you will learn how to become the graphic designer that you've always wanted to be. You guys out there now, live during lesson 1, you've taken your first steps, so I'm delighted delighted for that, and delighted for the opportunity that I can help you along the way also as well. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, guys, attending live is crucial. This foundation course is going to give everybody out there, no matter what your experience level, it's going to give you a solid understanding of what graphic design is. This foundation course is all about the what is graphic design, okay? And it's going to be a little bit of fun and engaging as we progress through the course also, guys. So like I said, big congrats, you've taken the first step, and I hope you continue on with this, guys. So, let's get started. I'm just going to give you something to think about before we continue with today's lesson. I'm going to make a statement. I'm not saying if this statement is correct or not, but the statement is graphic design is art. Okay, so it's just something to think about, and we'll discuss it then at the end of the lesson also as well. Okay? Nikki Hayes is asking, do we need special design software to do this course? I will bring you through that now, Nikki, in just a couple of minutes also as well. Okay, so quick question for everybody out there. I want you to give me a left or a right. Do you love colour, guys? And which side of the spectrum do you think you stand on at the moment? Do you think you stand on the left or on the right? Lots of people coming through there. Okay, left. Okay, good. That's a good sign. A few people coming through right. Well, guys, that is why you're here. I am here to teach you, and don't worry, you will be migrating towards the left then as we progress through the course as well. In graphic design, color is one of the most important elements in design. And as we progress through this course, we're going to be learning how it creates contrast, how it draws attention, even how it can subconsciously affect us. It can subconsciously affect our brain and even evoke certain feelings. So like I said, no matter what side, if you think you're maybe on the right for now, trust me, you will be migrating towards the left by the end of this course. Now again, who out there thinks you have the capacity to think visually? Okay? What I mean by this is graphic design is all about visual communication. So the aptitude of thinking visually is very, very important, because visual thinking happens much more quickly than, say, conscious step-by-step logical thinking. So in this course also, we're going to learn how to create designs that are, of course, easy to understand and attractive, but also sparking that visual thinking, that visual creativity. And I'm going to teach you how to do that. I'm going to give you that skill and teach you how to do that. Okay, a quick one out there. Just going to separate some of the maybe more amateurs from professionals. How many people out there have heard of the term kerning when it comes to typography? Anybody heard of this term? Give me a yes or no into your question boxes there. I've heard of it. Okay, a few yeses, lots of no's. Again, this is something we will be looking at in the typography section of our course. When we talk about typography, it's quite simply the art of arranging type. And kerning, as part of this, it's all about equalizing the space, equalizing the appearance of space between letters. And it's an absolutely essential part of any graphic designer's education, typography, and the little bits, the little sub-classifications of that too, like kerning and tracking and things like that also. And like you will understand, I am a self-confessed typo nerd, and I'm very, very much looking forward to that at the end of the course 2 in lesson 7. Finally then, guys, you have to understand, when it comes to design, it's all about common sense too. Common sense does prevail in design as well. So common sense does go a long way when it comes to graphic design, and you're going to be learning all about that too as well. Guys, okay? So I'm just going to take a quick sip of water, and we will continue on then in just a second, guys. So with all that in mind, everybody, you're very welcome to graphic design. And one of my favorite statements from one of my favorite graphic designers, the amazing Saul Bass, and I would encourage anybody out there with some free time, maybe just have a little bit of a Google search for Saul Bass, and you'll discover what an amazing graphic designer he was. He said, design is thinking made visible. And that is a term that we will need to remember and come back to as we progress through the course as well. Graphic design is thinking made visible. Now, okay. So what we're going to learn in this foundation course, in this part 1 course, guys. Well, in lesson 1, we're going to have our introduction, just like we'll go through today. In lesson 2 then, this is a very, very important lesson, guys. We're going to learn all about our graphic design elements and principles. Now, these are the core of understanding graphic design and extremely, extremely important. This is where we get the theory part of it out of the way before we go creating our own designs too. So it's very, very important to get these under your belt and to understand the core graphic design elements and principles as well. Okay? In lesson 3 then as well, a little bit more fun. This will be your first on-demand lesson, by the way, guys. This means it's not live, it is pre-recorded, but it's a really fun lesson. We're going to be using Photoshop to create some image composites. What I mean by that is we're going to learn how to combine multiple images together to create that one image at the end. And it's a really fun lesson. It's a really interesting, fun lesson as well. Lesson 4 then, we're going to be looking at our photo editing. So learning how to do things like masking and using our healing tools. We're all probably familiar with sort of magazine covers where people have an airbrush and things like that. So we're going to learn how to do that and to apply that to our own designs also. In lesson 5 then, we are introducing Illustrator this time, and I'm going to go through the applications that we will be using in this course also in just a few minutes. We're going to be introducing Illustrator. This is our vector-based application program where we're going to be creating our own logos and understanding the best practices for creating your own logos as well, guys. So very, very excited about that too. Lesson 6 then is your second on-demand lesson. This is like a follow-on from lesson 5. It's like a little bonus lesson just to get you guys a little bit more familiar with the Illustrator application and how to use a lot of its tools there as well in that. And again, a really interesting lesson too. Lesson 7, one of my favorite lessons actually, is all about typography. I'll be introducing you to typography and all about typographic quality. Lesson 8 then, this is a really, really important lesson too. Probably one of the most important lessons of the whole course. We're going to be putting all the skills we've learned together and learning how to design for the screen specifically this time, for digital, for the web, and for other areas like that also. So very, very important lesson in lesson 8. We're going to be bringing all of what we learned and putting it all into practice as well. Kirsten says, I'm really excited to see blend modes on the list. Exactly, Kirsten. We'll be going through our blend modes in lesson 4 as well, Kirsten. So excited about that myself. Okay, lesson 9 then. Because lesson 8 and 9 is such a large lesson, I've actually had to split it up into 2. So we're going to be following on from lesson 8 into lesson 9. Lesson 10 then, your final lesson. We're going to be creating some business cards and introducing Adobe InDesign. This is basically a page application software from Adobe also as well. So again, you will walk away from that lesson knowing how to create your own business card as well, which is very, very important for all of us designers out there too. So that's it, guys. So welcome, as I said, welcome to graphic design. Now, graphic design is everywhere. It is absolutely everywhere. Anywhere we look, we're seeing advertisements, we're seeing magazines, we're seeing things like infographics. We're seeing apps, we're seeing signage, you know, I mean, the list is endless. Okay, so going to ask you a question. For anybody out there sitting at your desk right now, you might be sitting at home, might be in your office, wherever you may be, have a look around you. Give me examples of graphic design that you see in front of you right now. Give me a few examples of what you see around you right now. Loads of books, says Jessica, as well, book covers, posters, labels, my mug there, indeed, Nintendo box, magazines, coffee mug, the Coke logo, indeed, one of my favorite logos. Letters, yeah, it is absolutely everywhere. Even you know, menus, your signs over your restrooms, things like that. It is absolutely everywhere, okay? So this is the idea, guys. We are interacting with design on a daily basis, even sometimes subconsciously interacting with it. And this is what you're going to learn in this course as well, guys, how we can even, whether consciously or not, interact with graphic design. It's a really, really exciting area, and it's a great area to be part of. So when we get to the dictionary definition of what graphic design is then, it is the art or profession of a visual communication that combines images, words, and ideas to convey information to an audience. Now, I'm going to highlight the key points in that. These are the key words in that statement. The key words are visual communication and conveying information. Okay? Because I get asked a lot, okay, like what is graphic design? Sometimes it's easier to explain what graphic design is not. Okay, because people have ideas about design and they mightn't realize, say, how much theory is actually behind it. Because design is not just about being familiar with, say, the latest software, for example, Photoshop or something like that, and then suddenly calling yourself a graphic designer. I mean, we probably all know people that do, that do that, I guess. And it's not about even being artistic. It's not about being able to draw well. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong; these do help, but design is much, much more. It's about being able to communicate a message visually. If you cannot, or if you fail to communicate that message visually, then this is what we call art. Okay, this is art. That is not design. Okay, so think of it this way: design must be interpreted by the same way by everyone to function. So I'm going to repeat that. Design must be interpreted the same way by everyone to function. Do people understand that? Give me a quick yes or no if you understand that statement now. Yeah. Lots of yeses coming through again. Okay, everybody with a yes or one or two no's. Okay, one or two no's, let me explain. Again, I'll repeat it. Design must be interpreted the same way by everyone to function. For example, if you have a label and people don't know what the label means, that means that design has failed. It hasn't worked. Now, that label has to read the same if you're 80 years of age or if you're 5 years of age. It needs to be interpreted. It needs to have the same meaning. Okay, everyone must get the same meaning out of that for it to function as graphic design. Otherwise, as I said, this is art. So art is beauty and design is aesthetic. Now, as I said there, graphic design is all about visual thinking and visual problem solving. Okay, that is what we do. We are visual problem solvers. So we need to ask ourselves, how can we convey information to somebody at a glance? As I said, sometimes without that person even being aware that we are doing it. Okay? Because if you're even driving down the road, you're looking at signposts, you will automatically recognize what that sign means. And that is what we mean. We are conveying information, sometimes even just at a glance. And we are solving visual problems. We are solving problems in a visual way. That is what we do as graphic designers. And again, these are your aims, okay? Some basic aims. Of course, you want to create something that's pleasing to the eye. Of course, that is why you're here, and that is what I will teach you how to do. But more importantly, also to get attention, okay? Also to get attention and to convey that message. That is a very important statement there, to convey that same message for everybody out there. A few things to consider before we continue on. Design has to work, okay? It's not always about just making things look cool, okay? It has to work. Think of it this way, what's the point of having maybe, a really artistically beautiful, say, restaurant menu if you can't find, the prices, or you can't find where the drink section is or something like that. Or maybe you have a really flashy website with lots of sort of bells and whistles, but maybe the user cannot figure out the navigation or maybe where the contact information is. These are what I mean. It's not just about making something look cool. Jonathan James says that's my biggest flaw. Okay, Jonathan. Well, hopefully we'll be able to help you out with that as well. Okay. Okay, brilliant. So, look at the poster in front of you. What do you think of this? Do you think this is working as a design piece? Do you think this is working? Of course it's not. No, of course it's not, because it's cluttered, it's indecipherable, there's lots of different fonts going on, there's lots of strange lines, there's lots of imbalance, okay? You have to work too hard to make things out. Again, some people might think it looks sort of interesting or looks cool, but no, it is confusing. Michael Carter saying there, it looks confusing. It's scattered, says Damien out there as well. Okay, indeed. And another sort of bugbear of mine then as well, something that I really do not have a lot of time for, is illegible fonts. Again, you can look, it can look quite cool. If you looked at that for a second, go, oh, that looks sort of interesting. But you could, what's the point if you can't actually read it? Do you think you would be able to read a line of text set in this font, for example? No, of course not. Of course you wouldn't, okay? So this is what you need to be aware of and need to think about. And again, Another one that I really don't have time for anymore is sort of unusable web interfaces. Again, don't get me wrong, this is visually quite appealing, it's quite interesting visually, but it's very, very confusing for the end user. And this is something we'll be looking at in much more detail in lesson 8 as well, guys, where we're looking at designing specifically for the screen and for the web as well. So lesson 8, we're going to take a much greater look at this type of thing too as well. And finally then, guys, you know, this is probably the fundamental error that a designer can make. It is wrong messaging, sending the wrong message to people, okay? Now, these are just a few of the more, basic examples, that I've come across. If you want a little bit of a laugh or a little bit of a chuckle, just go on to Google and maybe type in logo fails or design fails. You'll see what I mean. You will get some quite lewder examples too, some of them quite hysterical, but you get the idea, guys. You get the idea as well, don't you? A few people asked me, commenting about the London 2012 logo there. Yeah, the Olympic logo there for London 2012. How many people actually, just going to a straw poll, give me a yes or a no if you actually like the London 2012 logo, if you think it's a good logo. Okay, everybody, I don't see one yes. Okay, everybody going no. Okay, interesting. Yeah, it is quite interesting. It got a huge negative reaction by the public. Because people were saying, they were asking the question, do you think that represents London? Of course it doesn't. There's nothing there to represent London. It doesn't even really represent the spirit of the Olympics, I don't think. And worse than that, I'm not sure who the company was. I must look it up. Worse than that, the actually overall cost about it, it turned out to cost the committee in around £400,000 to develop that logo. I mean, £400,000 to develop a logo that looks like that, guys. Trust me, by the end of this course, every one of you out there, if you follow me and you attend live, you will be creating better logos than that by the end of this course. Whether you're going to get 400 grand to develop it, I don't know. I hope you will. If you do, pass on the work as well, guys. Okay? Okay. Brilliant, guys. Okay. Now, okay, so with all that in mind, as I said, graphic design is a very, very exciting area to be part of. You get to use your creativity, you get to have fun while doing it. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you do get to work with some quite cool, quite cutting edge technology as well. But some of the more important points there too, everyone. You will need to have the capacity for attention to detail. This is very important in design. And you will need to be patient, because in the design world, dealing with clients and things like that, your patience will be tested. And you're sort of solving problems. You want to be able to solve problems visually. If this is for you, I think graphic design is definitely an area for you. And don't worry, guys, I will be teaching you these skills. So even if you don't possess them right now, this is why you're here. You're here to learn. I will be able to teach you these skills. So, what do we do as graphic designers? Well, us as graphic designers, as I said, we are visual communicators. At the start of any project, for example, this is what happens, okay? We are given a brief by the client. Now, the brief is basically, this is the initial document. This is the initial document that contains all of the client's wishes, okay? And it also becomes a point of reference for the designer then as well. So everything is laid out in that initial brief, okay? It's the client wants, and it's a point of reference for ourselves. Once we're given that brief then as well, the designer will then do some research. Okay, so for example, you might look at, say, competitors. You might look at maybe examine some trends associated with the company itself. Even maybe look at the company's history and also its future direction also. You want to understand maybe where the company is coming from, but also where it wants to go, and represent them to the best of your abilities in that way. After our research is done then, our next stage then is strategy. Okay, next thing, your strategy is developed by sort of analysing the research that you've done in your research period, of course, and then deciding on the path or process for your actual design. After that then, the idea is then put into the development stage. This is where the idea is then developed as well. After you've completed your development and you've come up with your design, you then present it to your client. Okay, you present it to your client. Oftentimes then, This is like the review period then. Oftentimes then you will get some feedback from the client, sometimes even from maybe a small section of the intended target audience. Okay, so you might maybe give it a few people that the brand is aimed at and ask their opinion, get some feedback from them, and then we'll tweak that possibly in accordance with that feedback. Okay, and then finally, after the last of the tweaks is made and everybody is happy, or at least the people that are paying you or writing the check, make sure they're happy as well. After that then, the project is then launched. So this could be anything. It could be a website, it could be a logo, it could be a magazine cover, whatever you like. So this is a basic process of what we go through as graphic designers as well. Okay, does that make sense to everybody so far? Amir is asking, what do you mean by tweak? I just mean reviewing the design and then making adjustments depending on what the actual users want. This is what I mean by tweak. Okay, great. Okay, brilliant. Now, a few things to consider too before we move on, because some people get sort of turned off the idea of graphic design by a few simple steps. Okay, the first thing I'm going to say to you, Renette is saying similar to the interior design process. Indeed, Renette, because design is a process, and you will see lots of the similar styles across, like you said, interior design, but all the different areas of design. It is a process. Okay. Now, a couple of home truths, guys. Okay. First of all, you don't need to be good at drawing. To be a good graphic designer, you don't need this skill, okay? Because design itself is a skill, and any skill can be learned. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're good at sketching or things like that, it does help. And maybe if you want to practice your sketching skills, okay, maybe 5 or 10 minutes a day, sit down at your desk, maybe try and draw out some logo designs, even some pre-existing ones, maybe sketch some items on your desk. Okay, it does help, but generally, you do not need to be good at drawing to be a good graphic designer. Even my own drawing skills are quite limited, but I will have enough to sort of give a client ideas, okay, or show them what I mean, okay. After that then, that's Nikki Hayes just commented that is a relief because I'm lousy at drawing. Okay, well there you go, guys. Like I would encourage maybe to hone up on your skills a little bit, but do not be put off the area of graphic design if you're not like a good sketcher or something like that. Okay, another one then. You don't need to spend years in college to become a graphic designer. Now, don't get me wrong, this is the path I went down, of course, myself. I spent about 6 to 7 years in college studying design. But a lot of designers simply learned as they went along. They read books, they worked with others, they maybe got some work experience working with other designers, working in the field, swapping ideas with other people. But again, this is all about practice as well. Design is a skill, and like any skill, you will need to practice it. So you don't need to spend years in college. And many of the best designers I know simply learned as they went along as well, guys, okay? Another one then, I get asked this quite a lot, you don't need to spend thousands and thousands of pounds or euros or whatever your currency is, wherever you are out there, on fancy equipment, okay? In this foundation course, for example, any mid-range computer is fine. If you want to get into more advanced work, things like maybe 3D modeling or maybe some advanced video and things like that, then you will probably need a little bit more of a more advanced computer. But for basic design, any mid-range computer is perfectly fine as well, guys. Okay, just to make that clear to everybody, don't let that put you off. Little disclaimer, guys, I'm not saying these do any harm, but these are not essential. Okay? Okay, so is that making sense? Yeah, it does. It does. Okay. People ask about, do designers use Mac computers? A lot of designers will use Mac computers. Again, this is you don't need to. It's not the be all and end all. Personally, I don't even use a Mac computer. Okay. Now we've went through some don'ts there. You went through some don'ts. Now we're going to go through some do's. Okay. So these are some home truths. What you do need. Any graphic designer needs a portfolio. Okay, because a portfolio is by far the most important document you possess. Now, it can be either physical or digital. Okay, I would encourage you to have both, because a portfolio, it answers the questions people want to know at a glance. It answers, can you do the job? It answers, are you any good? And hopefully it will also make you stand out from the crowd. Because, I mean, I'm guilty of this myself. We can all maybe embellish a CV or a resume. How many people out there have maybe not quite lied on their CV or resume, but maybe embellished it a little bit. Am I sort of right in saying that? Okay, a few people have. Okay, yeah, just a little. Yeah, just a little bit maybe. Okay. Well, the thing is, with a portfolio, you have nowhere to hide because your work and your skills are there for the world to see. So you need to make it the best you possibly can. Now, we'll be looking into portfolio creation in much more detail in both print and in digital format in our advanced course. Okay, so we're not going to be looking at too much in the foundation course, but hopefully we'll give you the skills to add to your portfolio. So in our advanced course, we'll be looking into much more detail into that portfolio creation. It's a really interesting exercise, and I'll be able to help you out with those areas too myself, guys. I'll be able to offer you the support to do that. Now, you do need some visual thinking skills. You do need, maybe an aesthetic eye, a little bit of a creative approach to that problem solving. But again, don't be too discouraged if you don't think you possess these, because, or maybe they're not as strong as you would like them to be at the moment. Because visual thinking, as I said, is a skill, and any skill can be learned, and that is why every one of you out there is here this evening. You're here to learn these skills. Now, finally, whether you can draw or not, you do need to learn design software and to learn it well. Now, Adobe is the most widely used. It's the industry standard, okay? And now, the applications we will be using for this foundation course will be Photoshop, Illustrator, and then also an introduction to InDesign as well. Okay, towards the end of the course. I'm going to go through these in just a minute with you now as well, guys. And again, we will be delving a lot deeper into these applications in our advanced course, but we'll get you sort of up to speed with them in this foundation course as well. We're going to learn the fundamentals. We're going to get the fundamentals under our belt, because we're going to be able to learn how to walk before we can run. Okay, it is simple as that. It is simple as that. Okay, Louise, a couple of people asking, does it cost money? Okay, I will bring you to the end of the lesson too for anybody that doesn't have them. You can download trial versions of these from the Adobe website, and you can also actually download the full CS2, that is Adobe CS2, for free, and I'll actually show you how to do that at the end of the lesson too as well. I do encourage you, I am using the most up-to-date Adobe software here for some of our classes, so you can download trial versions from the Adobe site. It will be the same as mine, or if you want to, you can actually download the CS2 suite for free. Okay, now just to make you aware, this is slightly older. It mightn't have all of the features that I will be using, but it will have most of them. Okay, so it's just another option for people out there as well, guys. Okay, now, with all that in mind, as I said, graphic design is a huge area. It's a wide range area, and there are plenty of more specialized disciplines within design then, just like you can see on the screens in front of you. Now, these are just a few I've thought of off the top of my head. But like I said, whether you are in this course to become a professional, whether you just whether you're just a hobbyist or just have an interest, or you could be coming from maybe a marketing background, a PR background, you just want to understand what designers do, maybe to aid in your own work. There is something here in this course for everybody, okay? That is the whole point of this foundation course. No matter where you're coming from, there is something here. You will all benefit from it. Now, as I said, some people specialize in maybe the print or physical side of design, while others maybe stay in the digital world. But there's lots of room for crossover. Now, it's always a good idea to try and get some experience in as many different areas as you can, maybe before finally deciding on the path that feels right for you then, okay? Or else you could become like me and sort of specialize in them all. I have a huge interest in absolutely every area of design as well. Edita is saying photographers could be added too. They could be. In a way, photographers are designers. Good photographers are. Okay? So like I said, there's lots and lots of areas out there. I do encourage you to get as much experience in as many areas as you possibly can as well. Okay? Now, okay, just a second there now as well. I'm moving on. What is an interface designer? Louise is asking me. An interface designer is a designer that might develop what you see when you look at apps and websites and things like that. This is what your interface is, what you see in front of you. So that is what an interface designer is, Louise is just asking there. Now, okay, so let's us go through what we will be using, the software that we will be using for this foundation course. As I said, Adobe is the industry standard when it comes to design. Just going to give a quick straw poll. Give me a yes or a no into your question box now if you have used one or any of these applications already. Okay, I'm just going to quick yes or a no. Lots of people yeses, a few no's. Okay, a lot of yes, a few no's. Well, like I said, guys, for anybody, for all you yeses out there, trust me, I will be showing you some more advanced techniques and things like that, so you will learn more. For any no's out there, do not worry. We will be going through, because this is a foundation course, we will be going through in not quite baby steps, but we'll give you a solid understanding of these applications. So don't be put off if you're completely new to this. If you're not new to this, trust me, I will teach you some nice advanced techniques as you progress through also. So again, there's something for everybody. Now, as I said, Adobe is the industry standard when it comes to design. Now, there are plenty of other, maybe more accessible applications out there. These are fine for maybe amateur work, maybe amateur doodling, but Adobe is king, and is king for a reason. It's because the sheer amount of features and the sheer power of the applications. Now, as I said, we will cover quite a lot in this course. It's only 10 lessons. We'll cover as much as we possibly can. But we'll still only be scratching the surface of the potential of these applications, which of course we'll go into much more detail in our advanced course. Now, the first one we're going to quickly look at is Adobe Photoshop. Just going to take a quick sip of water before we begin. Okay, so the first one we're going to be looking at is Photoshop. Okay, destroying the truth since 1988. Okay, as you can see by any magazine covers or anything like that. Now, Adobe Photoshop. Okay, it's a seriously powerful photo editing and image editing application. It is basically the benchmark. Okay, however, just to make you aware, Photoshop, as stated, it's a photo, image and editing tool. It's not a specific drawing program. It's not really a specific drawing application. And this can be a source of confusion. While it is possible to use Photoshop for drawing, there are other applications like Illustrator, for example, which lend themselves much more to this area. Okay, but they all work together as well, all right? So don't get frustrated by this. You know, Photoshop, it wasn't intended to be used as a drawing program. This is what we use Illustrator for. It is an image editing tool, okay? And you can create some original images in it also, just like you'll be doing in lesson 3, for example, in your composite lesson. I'm going to teach you how to use Adobe Photoshop to create those image composites. It's a really fun lesson. So what does Photoshop actually do? Well, the real power of it is in working with existing images. So typical tasks like maybe image manipulation, maybe compositing, like we're doing now in lesson 3, maybe converting to different formats for, say, printing, for web, for things like that. This is the power of Photoshop. Okay, Adobe Illustrator then, on the other hand, okay, Adobe Illustrator is what we call a vector-based drawing program. Okay, now it's not Photoshop. Photoshop is a bitmap editor. Illustrator is a vector drawing program. Give me a yes or no if people understand the term vector, if you know what vector means. I'll explain now in just a second, but only just in case. Again, lots of yes, a few no. This is great. Lots of people out there with experience. This is brilliant. This will aid in your learning. Okay, so what are vector graphics? Well, unlike JPEGs, for example, your photographs or GIFs or bitmap images, vector graphics are not made up of pixels. They're instead made up of paths, okay, which are defined by a start point and an end point. Now, a path could be anything. It could be a straight line, it could be a square, it could be whatever you like. But we combine all these paths then to create our shapes, okay? Now, vector-based images are not made up of dots or pixels. And because of this then, they can be scaled to any size without losing image quality. So, for example, if you enlarge a raster graphic like a JPEG, it will look blocky or will look pixelated. But when you enlarge a vector graphic, the edges are always nice and smooth and nice and clean because they're essentially matte based, okay? So this is what makes them ideal for things like logos, which need to be small enough to appear on a business card, but also need to be scaled up to fill a billboard, for example. So this is where vectors come into their own, and like I said, in lesson 5 now, we're going to be looking at Illustrator and creating our logos in Illustrator, and that is why we use them. To give you an example of what I mean, it's probably easier to see. So on your screens here we have a bitmap graphic and we have a vector graphic, okay, a very simple logo. So what happens now when I enlarge it by say 100%? Can you see the difference straight away? Left, yeah, left is bitmap, yeah, you can see the difference straight away there. And again, if I enlarge by another 100%, you can now clearly see the difference. You can clearly see the difference of what I mean. So this is why we use Illustrator, especially for things like logo design and things like that, where we need to scale up and down, all right? Okay, yeah, okay, everyone can see the differences there. Brilliant. It's all about the details, as Jonathan out there too, isn't it? Okay, so that is the fundamental differences between it there, all right? Now, Adobe InDesign, and finally we're going to be looking InDesign lesson 10. Adobe InDesign is a page layout application. This is for publishing. Now, the cool thing about Adobe InDesign is it can be used for either digital or for print, okay? If you think of any media publishing companies, whether they be newspapers, magazines, generally 90% of them will be using InDesign as their application of choice. And as I said, the cool thing about InDesign is you can actually convert standard layouts into digital formats, like interactive PDFs, like ebooks, all that type of thing. Like I said, we'll be looking at InDesign in lesson 10 when we're creating our business card, but we'll be covering a lot more of it in our advanced courses also when it comes to our portfolio creation as well. All right. Now, okay, Emoji is very excited about InDesign. He says he cannot wait to master that. Okay, brilliant. Okay, guys. Now, so that is, with all that in mind now, we've covered quite a lot there now, guys. Again, for the end of today's lesson now, I want to give you a quick introduction to the Photoshop workspace, because this is what we're going to be using for the first couple of lessons before we bring in InDesign. So what I'm going to do is going to quickly give you a quick tour of Photoshop. I know some of you are already familiar with it, but there might be some added little benefits here for you too as well, guys. Okay, so I'm going to open up my Photoshop screen, just take a quick sip of water then before we begin as well. So give me 1 second and I'll be back to you now. Okay, on your screens in front of you, just give me a quick yes. Everyone can see my Photoshop screen opened up there in front of you, yes? You can indeed, okay. So, very straightforward. As I said, do not worry about what I'm creating here today. This is all about getting you familiar with the actual workspace itself. This is not about creating a graphic or anything today. We're going to be looking at that in lesson 3, guys, okay? So don't worry about this for today. I just want to make you understand how the whole process works, okay? So I'm going to actually close this for a second. I'm going to close this document for a second. So this is your blank Photoshop screen, okay? So starting from the top, we have our main menu at the top here, of course. Underneath then we have our options bar. Now this options bar will change depending on the tool you're using. So on my left hand side here I have my tools bar. So if I select a specific tool, for example my type tool, if I click my type tool there, you can see my options bar now changes to reflect the tool I've selected. So in my type tool I can now select my font, whatever I like. I can change that to whatever option I like there. You can see that changes, okay? And again the same for other tools. If I select a different tool, my options bar will change. And again, if we refer to your toolkits, which are available in your student area now, okay, your toolkits and also your graphic design starter pack, I have some shortcuts and explain what each of these tools does in your graphic design starter pack, which you can download now from your student login area, guys. I'll show you how to do that quickly at the end of the lesson in case anybody is wondering. Okay, so that's my options bar. On my left I have my toolbar. This is basically your document window in the center. I don't have anything in there right now, but what I want to get across to you today, the main thing is my layers panel, and explain how Adobe uses layers, because this is what we will be using as we progress through the course. So this is my layers panel over here. At the moment it's completely empty because I have no graphic opened up, I have no document opened up, but I'll open up my document now and explain that to you. Also, what people do get confused about is what is called our workspace switcher. This is up here in the corner. I have mine set to essentials, but for example, if you're working in, say, typography, for example, I can switch my workspace, and my workspace will now switch to make all of the tools relative to typography quickly available for you. So just to explain, that is what your workspace switcher does, but we're going to be sticking to the essentials. So stick to the essentials workspace there, and that is perfectly fine for now. So with all that in mind, I'm going to open up my document now. I'm going to go to File. I can open recent because I just had it open there. So File, Open. And I'm going to open up my nice image here. Cliffs of Moher over in the west of Ireland. I don't know if people are familiar with that. This is not a million miles from where we are here. But in this document now, you see I've opened it up. If you look at my layers panel now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 different layers in my layers panel. The great thing about layers is you can move them around, you can adjust them, you can grab them, you can edit them to your heart's content, okay? So for example, if I want to move my circle here, I can grab my circle and simply move it around because it's contained in a separate layer, okay? The same thing for my text. I can grab my text and I can move it around my screen to wherever I want. This is the benefit of layers. In my layers panel, I have 4 different types of layers. I have an image layer, which is my graphic. I have what's called an adjustment layer. Now this is a little bit more advanced, but I just want to make you aware of them. I have my circle layer, which is basically my graphic, just my simple circle graphic that I've created. And I have my text layer. So very quickly to explain these, I'm actually going to just recreate this graphic for you now as well. So I'm going to open up my image first of all. So I'm going to go to File, going to go Open. And I'm going to open my Irish landscape, my Cliffs of Moher. So open that up now. My computer's a little bit slow here, but don't mind that. And here I have my Irish landscape graphic, my Cliffs of Moher. A few things to remember here, guys, just so people are not confused. Once you open up an image in Photoshop, it automatically brings it into what is called the background layer. So it's called background. And you'll also notice there's a little padlock, a little lock icon here. So when I go to move that layer, if I try to edit or move it, you will get an error. It says, could not use the move tool because the layer is locked. Photoshop automatically does this when you open up a new image, just to make you aware of that. Okay. So to undo that, to unlock the layer, I can simply just click on the padlock icon there. So if I click on that now, you will notice now it's now called the layer 0. So when you open it first, it automatically calls layer background. When you unlock it, it sets that to layer 0. And now I can actually move around the image within my layer. Okay, so I can move it to wherever I like. Now if I want to name that layer now this time, I'm going to double click into my layer and I'm going to name that layer. I'm just going to call it image for now. Okay. So name that layer, it's now called image. Okay, and it's very important to name your layers. It's just good housekeeping as well, guys. You can be working on Photoshop documents that might have hundreds of layers, so it's a good idea to always name those layers as well. So that's my image layer. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in maybe my circle graphic on my screen there as well. Okay. It's going to add in my circle graphic there as well. Just a second now, guys. I'm having some people coming back to me with issues about their starter pack. So if you give me just a few minutes, guys, I'm actually going to see if I can send it to you directly. Okay, I'm going to send it to you directly if I can in just a minute or two. So bear with me, guys, for that too, please. Thank you very much. Okay. So just a second now as well. So here we go. Yeah, we have image. Now I'm going to add in a new layer. So I'm going to create a new layer. So we're going to work off this area over here. So down here, my bottom panel is down here. I can create a new layer by clicking on my create new layer icon. And by the way, if you hover over any of these, it will tell you exactly what each of them does. But if you refer to your toolkits and your starter pack, these are all labeled for you in there too. So to create a new layer, I can now I've create a new layer as called layer 1 and it's put it in there above my image layer. So in that layer, I'm just going to draw in a black circle. So I'm going to go to my circle, which is down here in my shapes. And again, like I said, guys, you don't need to be familiar with these right now. We will go through these in later lessons. I'm going to select my ellipse tool, my circle tool. I'm going to click on my color because I want to make it black. So I'm going to click my color icons there, make it black. I'm happy with that. I'm simply going to click and drag out my circle there now anywhere on the screen. And I'm happy with my black circle there as well. And again, because this is on a separate layer, I can now move that to anywhere I want on the screen. Okay, so that's my circle layer. Now, the next layer I want to add then is, and by the way, you can click on the layer and call it circle. The next thing then is I want to add in my text layer. So I'll click on your type tool, click anywhere on your screen, and now I can type in there whatever I like. So I'm going to go Cliffs of Moher. Now it's a little bit small on my screen there, so simply select it. I'm going to bring up my size. Because you will notice I'm on my type layer, my options panel has changed. I'll bring up the nice and big for everybody to see. I can change this to whatever font I like as well. I'm a big fan of Helvetica Neue, for example. And I can also even change the color. So say I want to change the color to white, double click on my icons there, and I can change my color picker to white. Okay, and again, if you want more options, you can bring up your character panel there as well, guys, as well. Like I said, don't worry about these for now. We will be looking at these in more detail later on as well. Okay, so that is my text layer. And again, I can drag that now over my circle layer there. So just to give you an understanding of how these layers work as well, okay? If, for example, I drag my circle layer above my text layer, you will see my text, it sort of disappears. But it doesn't really disappear. This is what we call the stacking order. So I've stacked my layers above each other now. So it hasn't disappeared, it's simply just gone above my type. So I can drag it back down again, and you'll see my type reappears. Okay, also you see your little eye icon, again concentrating on my layers panel over here. Your eye icon will turn on and off the visibility of each layer. So you can simply toggle on and off the visibility of each of these layers too. Okay, now a few more things then to consider, okay. By double clicking on any layer, so for example my circle layer here, I'm going to double click on it, and this will now bring up what is called my layer styles. So double click the layer, it brings up your layer styles. So now on my circle, I can actually start applying styles to this layer. So I might maybe want to add a stroke. I click into that, I can make whatever color I want. You make it a nice red so everyone can see nice and clear. I can change the sizings of this. Again, we will be covering these in detail later on, so don't worry about it for now. Just want to make sure everybody knows where they are. So there I've applied a stroke. You can apply any other things you want. Even if you want to add maybe a drop shadow. I'm not a big fan of them, but as is your want, maybe click on the drop shadow. I can maybe adjust my distance there. So I can add in drop shadows to that too. You can see my drop shadow now appearing in there too as well. Okay. So lots of different options, but this is what we call our layer styles. So simply click OK. And there I have my layer styles now applied to my circle, and you can see they've now appeared in my circle layer there too. Okay, so before we finish up now as well, Mary is asking how to make it transparent. That is just what I'm moving on to. So up here in your opacities and your fills. So your opacity is basically making it transparent. So in your opacity, if I drag that all the way down to maybe 20%, you can see it brings down the opacity of my circle layer. You can bring it down to whatever percentage you like. Okay, so I'm going to bring it all the way back up again. But your fill will also make some adjustments. Your fill is also a way to add transparency, but with your fill layer, you'll notice that just my circle layer, just my circle, not my actual styles that I've applied to it, that is a difference between your fill and your opacity. Your fill will apply a transparency just to the graphic, not to the actual layer styles. Okay, so just give me a yes if that makes sense, people out there now so far. Okay, that is making sense. Great. Okay, that's nearly it. And finally then, guys, as I said, I just want to make you aware of what we call our adjustment layers. Okay, so again, I'm going to add an adjustment layer this time. Our adjustment layers are a little bit more advanced, but they're what we call non-destructive editing. So to add a new adjustment layer, I'm going to click on my adjustment layers here. Maybe make it our hue saturation, for example. That will bring up now my properties dialog box here, and here in this layer now I can adjust the hue and saturation of my image, but this is a separate layer. It's not applying it directly to the image. This is what we call non-destructive editing. So for example, if I bring my hues all the way down, you can get some quite drastic effects. You can change all of these settings here. Okay, but the great thing about your adjustment layers is you can toggle them on and off. So for example, if I turn off the visibility, it turns off. I can turn it back on again. But I can also go back after the fact and edit it to whatever I want to. Okay, so it just gives you much more control over your actual image. Alright, so just to make you aware, again, adjustment layers, this is what we call non-destructive editing. You're applying edits to a layer, not to the actual image itself. If you were to apply to the image itself, this is what we call destructive editing, and this is something we'll go through in future classes also. Okay, and then finally, guys, up here, someone was asked about our blend modes. Again, I'm concentrating on my layers panel over here. Our blend modes are contained up here. This is something we're going to go through in lesson 4, but this is where they are to let people know. So I'm going to duplicate my image layer now. I'm going to make a copy of it. So to duplicate my image layer, I'm going to press Control and J. And again, in your starter pack and toolkits, all of these shortcuts are there for you too. So Control and J will make a duplicate of any layer. So if I want to apply a blend mode to this layer now, your blend modes will apply a transparency, but they will also alter the coloring of the pixels. Okay, so for example, if I apply a blend mode, I'll say multiply to my layer now. I'm just going to turn this off for a second. So if I apply a blend mode to this now, I'm going to toggle the visibility on and off. This is my original image. If I toggle on my blend mode image now, I've applied a multiply. You can see it's darkened up the image, okay? If I want to apply a screen, you'll see it's lightened up. There's lots of them to go through here, guys, okay? So we will be going through these in future classes, but just to make you aware of where they are as well, guys, okay? Just to make you aware of those. You can get some quite drastic effects as well contained within these two, guys, but that is just where they are. Okay, so that is basically how my layers panel works as well. So just making sure I've covered everything there. Can you use opacity with that layer? You can use opacity with any layer, someone's asking there. So for example, I'm going to turn these off. Even on your adjustment layers, you can still apply an opacity. So you can bring your opacity up and down to that too. So you can see me doing it there. If it's contained in a layer, you can apply any of these settings to it. Okay. So guys, that is how your layers works. And again, if you want to delete a layer, you can simply click on your trash icon. So I'm going to delete that layer now. That is how you delete a layer. Okay, so I've added layers, you've deleted layers, you've duplicated layers, added in text and added in graphics. Just going to quickly cycle through now what we've covered there. Like I said, we will be covering these in much more detail in future classes, but I just want to make you aware of where they are before we actually continue with future classes. So we've got into organizing our layers. Again, I'll quickly go through that. If you want to add in, say, folders to keep for good housekeeping, you can click on your folder tab. You can call that lesson 1, for example. And then you can actually start dragging in your layers into the folder also. So I'm dragging in all those layers into that folder. Okay. So, and I can click on and off that entire folder as well. So it's just good housekeeping. You can click on the folder to get your individual layers then also too. So that is organizing your layers. Our layer visibility, we create new layers, we've deleted layers. We've looked at the difference between fill and opacity. Our blend modes. I've discussed the background layer and how that works. Discussed the stacking order and how you drag layers above and below each other. Our blending options was our layer styles there as well. And we've looked at adjustment layers. Like I said, before we continue, I just want to make you aware of where all of these are as well. Okay? So don't worry about recreating anything there. Okay, so guys, that's it for today's lesson. We've just around 1 or 2 minutes over time. So very quickly now, I'm just going to let you know what is coming up in the next lesson also. So coming up in lesson 2, folks, very important lesson. This is where we're going to start understanding our elements and our principles of design. Okay, these are fundamental to all of our learning experience as well, guys. Okay. So our elements and principles are line, shape, color, texture, mass, and space. We're going to be examining some color theory as well in lesson 2. We'll be coming back to color as we progress through the course also as well, guys. And then finally our principles of design too as well. So our elements and principles in lesson 2, this will basically elevate you to become the more professional designers that you guys want to be as well. And you will need to understand these, understand how to use these terms in your design. So really important. A few ones on before we continue with the Q&A. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and of course YouTube as well. And I will be giving you some optional assignments as well as we progress through. A few people wondering about the starter pack there as well. Some people having some link issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and send that to you directly now in just 1 minute as well, guys. I'm going to send you the starter pack in just 1 minute as well. Okay, so like I said, engage there. Don't forget to check out our hashtag Shaw graphics. So a little question for you today, guys. I asked you at the start of the class, is graphic design art? I'd love to hear your answers. If you post your answers on Twitter with our hashtag Shaw graphic, just so you guys can develop a little community amongst yourselves as well, guys. It's really important for everybody to get together as well, guys. Okay? And then finally, once you leave this webinar, you will be asked to rate this lesson from 1 to 5. So 1 is the lowest, 5 is the highest. If you really enjoy this lesson, I would appreciate a 5, okay? So if you really enjoy this lesson and got benefit from it, I'd really appreciate a 5. This just helps us to do, make our classes better each and every time. So when you leave the webinar, you will be prompted to leave a mark. So 1 for the lowest, 5 to highest. So if you enjoyed it, I really would appreciate that, guys. It makes me look good over here too. So thanks a million for that. So guys, just give me 1 second now. We'll have the Q&A. we will have the Q&A, and I just want to go through one or two bits then before we continue as well. I'm going to try and get that starter pack to you now in just a second, guys. So bear with me. I will try and send it to you directly for anybody that has been having any issues with that. So just bear with me for 1 second, guys. Thank you. Okay guys, if you check your handout section now, you should be able to see your starter packs in there as well, folks. Okay, so just bear with me with that for 1 second. So if you check, as I said, if you check your handout section there, you should be able to, so just let me know if you guys can see that. I'd appreciate it. Everybody can see that. Just give me 1 second here as well. So it's just coming through still for some people, so just bear with me for 1 second as well, guys. Okay, just get it through to other guys over here. Just give me 1 more second, guys. Sorry about this delay now. I know some people have managed to get it in their student login area, but for anybody that didn't, I'm sending it to you directly right now also. Okay, that should be on its way to everybody out there now as well. Just give it a second, guys, just to come through to you, but it should be on its way to everybody out there now. And I do apologize for anybody else wondering. You will be able to access it via your student login area then too, guys. Okay, everybody seems to be coming through there. Got that. Everybody said they got it. Okay, brilliant, guys, brilliant. Just give me 1 more quick second now, guys, because there's 1 or 2 more things I just want to quickly go through before we continue with the Q&A now in just a second. People have been asking me about how to download our CS2, the CS2 software, which is completely free, guys. So I'm going to send you this link now as well. So just give me a second now. So that is for the free CS2 link there as well, guys. Okay. And you simply, with that link, then you can simply log in. And you will be able to get it there as well, okay? Just to make you aware though, guys, it is a slightly modified older version. But just to make sure it is there, so you'll simply go down to say your English, so you'll be prompted to go down to English. You can download it from there. So on your screens you can see it there right now. You can download English, and this is your serial number, okay? So check your serial number. You're able to download the files from there for Windows or for Mac, and they are your serial numbers. That is the older CS2 product. For anybody that wants to maybe download the full trial version of the application that I am using, simply go to adobe.com here, and you can simply click in there, for example, Photoshop, and you're asked to download a trial. So that is how it works, guys. It's very, very simple, very, very straightforward. You will be asked to create an Adobe ID, but that just only takes you a second as well. Okay. Okay, guys, so just a second now, we're going to continue on with the Q&A now, guys. Okay, so just a second as well. How long is the trial for CS? The trial for the full version, trial, I think it used to be 30 days, but it's only 7 days now. But you don't have to use each one at the same time as well, guys. Okay, so you can work around that too. Okay. Can I use CS5? Adnan is asking. You can, of course. There's no problem at all. You can use CS5. Absolutely no problem at all. Okay. Yaya is asking, can you explain the blending modes again? Okay, we'll be going through blending modes in much more detail in lesson 4. Okay, today was just to show you where they are more than what they actually do. Okay. No problem, Irene. We'll see you very soon. See you back for lesson 2. Nalana is asking, am I able to download lesson for future reference when practicing? You can access the recordings. They will be available for you the next day. So you can access your recordings in your student login area. So if you go to shawacademy.com, like you can see on the screens in front of you, so this is where you log in. You can go to shawacademy.com website. Okay, you will log in with your email address that you registered with and your password. You press continue. Now, in my login area, I've got lots of courses. You can see I'm actually taking lots and lots of different courses myself over here. But you simply click on the specific course, click into your student login area, and in there now also you will see the recordings made available for you. Now, they won't be there right now. It's about 24 hours later. So once you click in, you can see you will have access to recordings and also your toolkits and your assignments and your graphic design starter pack is also in there too as well. Carla is asking, do I need to make an Adobe account before downloading CS2? You will be prompted, Carla, to create an account. Yes, it just takes you a second. A simple name and email address is all it is. Okay. So just to make clear, this is where your recordings will be placed. So shawacademy.com, log into your student area. Okay. Just a second now. Julie is asking, is the advanced course to be taken after the introduction course? Yes, Julie, we do run our advanced courses take place after our foundation courses. It's just to help you progress on as well, guys, okay? So when you log into your student area, you will see your recordings. Now, as I said, this is an older version, okay? Your recording will be made available for you tomorrow. You will see all of your recordings down here. And for example, in your toolkits, if you click on your toolkit, you should be able to see your graphic design starter pack for everybody there now. If you decide to purchase your toolkits, you will also see webinar slides and summary notes available in there for you too also. I'll also be giving some optional assignments. So if you click on your assignments tab, these are at the end of each week. These are sort of practice for your final exam. So your optional assignments will be in there also. So is that clear to everybody so far? Just making sure everybody understands that. Give me a yes if that makes sense to everybody. Yep, okay, that's great. Okay, great, folks. Let's continue on with the rest of the Q&A now as well. Just a second now. Dennis again is asking, I have Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop CS5. It's perfectly fine, Dennis. Yeah. The Kirsten's asking, when will these assignments be there? At each Friday, Kirsten. So the end of each week, there will be optional assignments in there. These are just practice for your final exam, okay? Okay, no problem at all. Just a second now as well. Rachel is asking, do you think there can be too many graphic designers or a field where there are too many people in already? Rachel, very interesting. Jobs for graphic designers I was reading a survey the last have escalated by over 80% in the last couple of years, Rachel. So I don't think there should be any issues because there has been an 80% increase in people looking for actual graphic designers in all different fields, of course. So like I said, I don't think there should be any issue there with that. Okay, just a second now. Alexandra says, I can't see the assignment. There are no assignments there yet, Alexandra, because this is just lesson 1. They will be made available for you at the end of the week on Friday, Alexandra, okay? Sarah again is making the point, people will appeal to different target markets. Of course, Sarah, you're 100% right there now as well. Okay. Just a second as well. Salman is asking, what was the purple line was coming while moving the text in the circle? Salman, that is what we call our smart guides. They were basically helping me to guide and position my elements on my page. So you can turn your smart guides on under view as well. These are very, very handy, and I'll go through these in more detail in future lessons too. Like I said, today was just about the understanding of how layers work as well. Okay? Just a second. Mohammed is asking, how many adjustment layers can be added? You can add as many adjustment layers as you like, Mohammed. There is no limit. You can add as many adjustment layers as you like to any of your images. Joy is asking, can you improve your photography skills or photo editing with graphic design? You can, of course, Joy. And in lesson 4, we're going to be doing some photo editing. But it's even understanding and getting a better eye to take your initial photographs as well. But of course, we'll be looking at editing and our images in lesson 4 and even in lesson 3 as well, Joy. So lesson 3 and 4, we're concentrating on that. Just a second now as well. Thank you for the lesson. You're more than welcome. Just a second now. Sorry guys, lots of questions coming through. I'm going to get to as many as I possibly can as well. Llama is asking, how can you avoid a heavy file? I presume, Llama, you mean the actual size of the actual Photoshop file. Well, the more layers you add to a Photoshop file, the larger the file size will be. But you can, of course, then simply save the overall file as a JPEG, which will be a much smaller file format as well. And again, we'll go through that in lesson 3 and 4 also. Rakan says, thank you for a wonderful lesson. You're more than welcome. Ala says, appreciate the lesson. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'll see you back here for lesson 2, guys, very, very shortly, a couple of days. Just a second now. Adnan is asking, is Adobe After Effects and Illustrator the same thing? No, they are completely different, Adnan. After Effects is a motion graphics editor. Illustrator is a vector-based drawing program as well. Okay. Massey says, thank you for a fantastic lesson. You made it so easy. Okay, thank you. Well, hopefully. And we'll see you back in lesson 2. Okay. Just a second now. Someone asking there, can I use an iPad instead of a laptop for design? Adobe does offer sort of smaller versions, sort of apps of their actual applications that you can use on your iPad. Now, they won't contain all of the same features. They will contain some of them, but they won't contain the full gamut, the full range of features. Okay, but you can get apps for your iPad. You can get Adobe apps for your iPad. Yes. Okay. Just a second now. Elena is asking a question there. I'm trying my best, Elena. Yes. What topics are we going to cover in Adobe InDesign lesson? So we're going to have an introduction to InDesign. We're going to actually be creating our own business cards. Julia is asking, creating a business card in InDesign, but simply like adding text, adding color, adding graphic elements, how to position them, how to resize them, and then finally how to actually export for professional print. So we're going to be learning how to export for professional print in InDesign also. Anything about animation, Kojiro is asking. Not in this foundation course because it's a bit more of an advanced topic, Kojiro, okay? So not in this foundation course. This is all about what is graphic design, not so much about animation. But we will be adding animation lessons in our advanced classes later on too, okay? Just a second now. Okay, again, just a second now. Ahmad is saying, I can't see any starter pack available for download. Okay, Ahmad, if you check your handout section, I've actually shared it with you there, so you'll be able to download it directly from there too, and I'll double check that. Some people, and not everybody, seem to have some issues, so maybe we'll just do a quick refresh and I'll check that for you as well, okay? Ibrahim is asking, for making a logo, which program will we use? Illustrator is the application for creating a logo. Okay, that is the industry standard for creating a logo. Jakub is asking, is there any cost for lesson 3? No, not at all, Jakub. No cost. It's just an extra bonus lesson in there for you. Okay. Julie, again, are we going to talk about paragraph styles in InDesign? I will be going through some of the basic styles when we're creating our text, Julia, okay? But it's just the one lesson, and that's something we look at much more detail in our advanced course also, okay? Lucy is asking, is both AI and EPS, so these are file formats? So yes, AI and EPS are vectors. Anything you create in Illustrator will be a vector, Lucy, okay? Just a second now. Cormac is asking, do designers use tablets like Wacom's, or is a keyboard enough? It's a question of taste, Cormac, depending on what you're working on. Personally, I don't use a tablet, okay? I just never got the hang of them. I simply just don't like using them. I will use a mouse and a keyboard. But I know friends of mine, for example, that might be illustrators or maybe digital painters, will use tablets. It sort of depends on the work you're doing and if it suits you or not. You can get some more finer details when using a tablet for things like that, creating more illustrations and maybe for digital painting, but it's a point of choice. It's whatever you prefer using yourself. Like I said, personally, I actually just prefer a mouse. Okay. Icarus is making a good point. He says AstroPad is worth to look for iPads, so that's AstroPad. Icarus is saying there. Thank you, Icarus, for that. So for anybody with iPads out there, AstroPad. Okay. Lamis is saying, I feel I'm too basic and a beginner for this course. Am I in the wrong place? Not at all, Lamis. This course is aimed at everybody. It is simply foundation grounding. So if you stick with the live lessons, Okay, it is aimed at everybody. So whether you're a complete amateur or maybe a little bit more experienced, it doesn't matter. We go through it in such a way that everybody will get benefit from it. Okay. Benjamin, was there a link for the free starter pack? Benjamin, if you check your handouts, your starter pack is available there for you, Benjamin. Okay, so check your handouts there, and it should be there for you too. And it will also, if it's not in your student login area now, it'll be there very shortly. Some people seem to be having some issues with it, so I'll double check that. Amr is asking, what version of Illustrator will we use? Amr, I am using Adobe CS 2015 or Adobe CC 2015. It is the newest version of all the Adobe applications, but like I said, the tools we'll be using will be available in most of the older applications too as well. Okay. Okay. Okay, just a second now. Do we have deadlines for assignments? Erdis is asking. No, your assignments will be released at the end of each week. Okay, there are no deadlines, but these are optional, but they're good practice. They're good practice for your final exam as well. Okay. Cara is asking, thank you for a brilliant lesson. Talking about the thank you for a brilliant lesson. How much? Okay, Cara, we'll be talking about the advanced course and future lessons to Cara as well. Okay, so we'll go through that with you. Just a second, Lucy again. Thanks for the answer. But there are EPS from. Sorry, your question just went by there, Lucy. I just missed it. I think you were saying, yeah, you can bring in vectors into Photoshop, and you can select as a Photoshop.eps if you're already working from a vector graphic. So, for example, you can bring in a graphic from Illustrator into Photoshop, and it will ask you then to save in different formats. So you do have the option of EPS in Photoshop, but you need to be working with the original vector graphic in the first place. Okay. Okay, just a second now. Is there any program you should download for the next lesson? Not for lesson 2, but for lesson 3, I would recommend you getting Photoshop, Razan. Our next lesson is going to be theory based, where we're going to learn how to understand graphic design, how to understand our elements and principles, and I'm going to teach you how to separate good design from bad design and to understand how. Okay. Once we get all of that out of the way, then in lesson 3 we're going to be concentrating on Photoshop. Lesson 3 and 4 then in Photoshop. Susie Daly is asking, how do you separate layers in an existing image? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Susie. Do you mean if you can, if you have one image that is flat, that's just all one image, you can cut areas out of that, and that's something we'll be looking at now in lesson 3 as well. So you can actually cut areas out of that image and put them onto a new layer if you want to also. Okay. How do the exams work? Jeremiah is asking. They're simply, you can simply log into your student area, click on the assignments, and they're multiple choice questions. So they're simply multiple choice questions that you can answer in there. Okay. Javaria is asking. Is asking, do we have to open up Adobe while attending lesson? Not at all, no. And I would encourage you not to do that, because you're going to miss things. Okay. As I said, the recordings will be made available for you in your student area after the fact, so you can go back and revisit then, maybe practice in your own time. Okay. Just a second now. Leonel is asking about Pantones. Again, Pantone colors are more advanced, Leona. This is something we look at in our advanced course, not for this basic foundation course, Leona, okay? But we do talk about Pantone colors in our advanced course also. Zuhair, lots. Zuhair, 4 digits. Okay, Zuhair, thank you very much for that. Are the assignments part of getting the diploma? They're not part of it, but they're just good practice, Lucy. Okay, they don't count towards your final grade or anything, but they're just good practice. Okay. Tiffany is saying, so you suggest to listen and observe and practice afterwards. Yes, Tiffany, I would strongly, because if you're trying to keep up with me, you will be missing some bits. So I would encourage you maybe attend the lesson and then practice after the fact as well. Okay. Okay, no problem at all. No problem at all. Mohammed is asking, where can I rate this? Once you leave the webinar, Mohammed, you will be prompted to rate the webinar. So once you leave the actual webinar, you'll be prompted. So rating from 1 to 5, 5 the highest, 1 the lowest. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, appreciate a 5. Gareth Williams is asking, can I use InDesign to design my web page to use on WordPress? To an extent, Gareth, to an extent, you can use InDesign for digital designs as well, okay? Now, a little bit more of an advanced topic as well, Gareth, but there are options there available for you, and there's even some plugins too as well, okay? But there's probably better options for you there. Daniela, yes, I can see you. If you have a question for me, please ask. Deepali's asking, will we have the Q&A as part of the recording? It will, of course, yes. Yeah, so everything live tonight will be in the recording as well. Yeah, Mariam, is this lesson be online? Yeah, okay, Mariam. Yeah, this lesson will be available for you tomorrow. It's roughly about 24 hours after the live lesson, and will be available for you then for the duration of the course. So for the duration of the course, okay. Okay, guys, I think that is Katie. Yeah, if you can ask me a question there, Katie Gustafsson. Okay, I think we're nearly finished up now, guys. We've ran over a little bit tonight, guys. So our first lesson tends to run over a little bit. Our future lessons will not be this long. Okay, so I sort of stayed behind answer as many as I possibly could. But we'll see you back here for lesson 2 very, very soon. Anyway, guys, just one more question from Katie. I couldn't see your question there. If you want to ask me again. Thank you, Cormac. I appreciate that as well. Thanks for a great lesson, says Anna. Okay, just a second now. Okay, no problem, Katie. That's no problem at all. Thanks very much. Thanks for a great course, says Jury. Thanks a million. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, I think that is it for tonight. If for any reason I did miss any questions or I didn't get you, like I said, there's lots of people joining us here tonight. So if I miss anything outstanding or anything like that, you can send us through an email also to the graphic.design@Shaw Academy email address too, guys. Okay, so the graphic.design@Shaw Academy email address that you see on the screen in front of you. If, for example, I did miss anything, and I apologize for that, guys. Okay, but for me, guys, thanks very much for being here. Very much looking forward to seeing you all in the next lesson as well, guys. In lesson 2, really exciting, really interesting lesson, guys, to give you a good solid understanding, a good solid foundation of graphic design. Okay, guys, so thanks a million for joining us. We'll see you back here for lesson 2 in a couple of days, and for me, for now, this is Kevin, and I am designing off. Bye bye.